TFA fam, what is on? We are on to Christmas.
Well, some of us are. Okay, all right, we're gonna lose viewers.
It is that time of the year. You know, Christmas is upon us. Time to break out the Santa hat. People have been here long enough. No,
Kev's so excited. It's been 30 seconds and he already needs a drink.
yeah, I'm excited actually. You know, so anyways, we are here to answer questions. We are here to
Are we?
week 13. You know, and yes, Santa is real. In case anybody was wondering. But we got a lot of buys this week, so you know there's gonna be a lot of questions. A lot of people wondering what to do with their lineups, and we already got a lot of questions in here. So let's just get into it, shall we? Harold, first one in the chat. Hollywood Downs, Jeff Wilson, standard. Need one for Harold.
I mean, if excuse me, if Achane does not play, then it's obviously Jeff Wilson. But I think he does play, so I can't go Wilson in what's likely going to be a three-headed monster with Raheem Mostert getting the majority of the touches. I'm going to go Downs. I feel like we can trust his targets more than Hollywood. I know Hollywood finally popped up last week and kind of put that to bed in terms of not getting the targets the first two games back with Kyler, but I think Downs is more trustworthy in terms of the target share. So I'm gonna go Downs here.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm gonna go with Josh Downs. I like the matchup a little bit more.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't. It's tougher with it being a standard league. I typically like to go with the running back here, but I mean Jeff Wilson, I don't think you can trust. I do think Devon Chan plays, like you said,
Yeah.
but if he weren't, then I think you could look at Jeff Wilson here as a viable option, especially with their matchup. Michael, 9-3, 12 team league, third place. Let's go. Found one guy who would trade right before the deadline. Hurts, Pollard, Gibbs, Dell, Evans, Kelsey, need a flex, Laporta, DK, Puka, Rice, Javante, Achane. This is the best channel. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Gill. The real deal, Michael Gill. The trade thing here is kind of throwing me off. Is he saying he made a trade and that's now his lineup, I guess, because I'm not really seeing a trade question here. So if we just need a flex, I'll get hurt again. I don't care. My body is ready for the pain. I'm gonna go Achane.
Oh, I did not see that as what you were going to go with.
It's just such an elite matchup for Achane, and they were cautious with him. I know he re-aggravated it, but it was because someone fell on him. It wasn't if it was like a non-contact type of thing, I'd be a little bit more worried. But I'm assuming if they're going to run Achane out there, that he's going to be good to go. So I'm going to put Achane in the flex.
I'm going to go with Puka here. I guess I also like to be hurt. But to me, I think it comes down to Puka, DK, and Rashee Rice for me. Those are the three of the guys that I would look at the most here. I think being in the best spots. I just slightly lean towards Puka. DK is also interesting just because I think that, one, we really haven't seen the Cowboys play a lot of really good offenses so far this year. It's been with the way their schedule is broken out. But I do think this is a game that, obviously they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I do think he's in play. But I slightly lean towards Puka as the option here, especially being a PPR format. And then Harold again need a DST with Ravens on bye. Colts, Falcons, Jets, Broncos all available.
Colts, Falcons, Jets, and Broncos. I I would go Jets if the Jets are available. Desmond Ritter is, loves himself some turnovers. So I'm going Jets.
Yeah, I think it's Jets Falcons between those two for me. I slightly lean towards the Jets as well. I like that option.
Yeah, that's a great option to be able to pick up and play.
808 evening, Cody and Kevin from Hawaii. Look at
How
you.
rich?
Yep.
Hope you're enjoying it. 808.
Yeah, absolutely, and absolutely. I mean, unless if you just there on vacation, I mean, good for you. And wait, just tune in. That's how much we mean to you that you can just tune in from Hawaii. Love to see it. Super early there. It's like
Yeah.
noon, 1 o'clock, something like that. Two wide receivers of flex: Garrett Wilson, Javante, Tank Dell, Mario, or Romeo Dobbs. So Tank Dell's a lock, and then I'm going to go Garrett Wilson, and then
Javante.
yeah, I'm going to flex Javante with that one. And then 808 again. Someone dropped Dalton Schultz. Should I play him over Juwan Johnson?
I would go Johnson this week, quite frankly. I don't know. I still need to look into it to see what happened, but I did see that Dalton Schultz really did not play in the fourth quarter. So I don't know if it was injury. I don't know if all of a sudden the coaching staff wanted to look to Brevin Jordan for whatever reason. But outside, Dalton Schultz had those 2 games when there were some injuries to the receiving core where he really popped off. But outside of the game where he scored a touchdown, like it's been kind of disappointing over the past couple of weeks compared to what it was. Obviously, with tight end, if they score a touchdown, you're ecstatic no matter how many other catches they have. But I'm going to go Juwan Johnson here in a situation where the Saints are likely going to have to throw. The Lions are not great against tight end to begin with, and the Saints have nobody on that roster to throw to. Like I think it's gonna. I think this passing offense gets funneled through Juwan Johnson, Alvin Kamara, and Taysom Hill this week.
I will like to mention that I think Chris Olave got actually a limited practice today, so that is pretty positive. If he's already out there practicing on a Wednesday, that tells me he has a pretty good shot of playing.
Interesting.
So I did want to put that out there. So with them getting that practice, and that is um, step one to getting back from a concussion. If you're able to get in a limited practice, that you have to be able to do that to clear, and then from there, you have to get in a full practice. So it is something to monitor with Chris Olave. So he very well could be back for this game.
I still think I would lean Juwan Johnson even if Olave plays because they still need playmakers.
Yeah, I think so too, and it is concerning. I mean, Dalton Schultz has only seen 3 targets the last 2 games, so
Yeah.
that is a little concerning. It seems like things are falling off a little bit, and it does sound like Noah Brown could be back, which is kind of muddies things up even more. 808 again. Other league, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, take Dell, DK Metcalf, Devin Singletary, Javante, Christian Kirk. So once again, Tank Dell, and then I'm going to go Mike Evans, and then I'm going to flex DK Metcalf.
DK, yep.
And then I'm running Miami defense. Currently, should I swap out any of those for Chargers, Rams, Falcons, Colts, Lions, or Broncos?
Sorry, a ruckus in my kids' room. I have no idea what's happening. Chargers, Rams, Atlanta, Indy, Detroit.
I think you stick with Miami. I mean, we know that one positive is that Sam Howell gets sacked at just at an alarming rate every single game, and so that in itself, I mean, they can rip off 5 or 6 sacks. I mean, that's going to be huge for them. So cause a couple turnovers. So I mean, I have Miami as the number 2 defense this week. So
yeah, I would stick with Miami.
Chris, should I keep Rashee Rice as a flex or in a PPR league? Other options are Connor, Ford, Cooks, or Higgins. Starting running backs are Swift and Warren. Wide receivers are Brown and Downs.
Yeah, I would rock with Rice.
I would too. I really like Rashee Rice this week, and apparently, I noticed we must be all Chiefs this week because on the thumbnail for the running backs, I picked Isaiah Pacheco, and I think for the wide receiver, you picked Rashee Rice. So I was like, oh,
Yeah, I saw that after I uploaded it. I was like, well,
guess we're all in. Chris again. Also, roll with Goff or pick someone up like Mayfield off waivers.
I mean, Chris, if you're still in here, by some chance, I would not expect you to be, considering your question came in almost an hour ago. But I would just stick with Goff without knowing what your other options are.
I would too. I'm not playing Baker Mayfield over Jared Goff. I mean, I think Mayfield's a decent play this week, but I prefer Jared Goff in matchup. Inside a dome. It is on the road, but should be have the caveat that they are inside a dome, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. So I would stick with Jared Goff. I think he's a borderline QB1 this week.
Yeah.
808 again. Oh, we got a wife question now. The wife want to know which which tight end to stream. Logan Thomas, Kyle Pitts, Kate Otten, Chig, Gerald Everett, Conklin, Tucker Kraft, Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee. So we got
So and then also goes on to say she currently has Juwan Johnson. It would either be Juwan Johnson or Logan Thomas for me.
yeah. I think right now I stick with Juwan Johnson though. I think I'm just slightly ahead on Juwan Johnson here as an option.
Both are going to be playing from negative game script, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that. It doesn't say here what the scoring system is, but in half PPR, the Dolphins are allowing the 13th most points per game to tight ends, and the Lions are allowing the 14th most, literally separated by 0.1. It's 10 points per game to 9.9. So not really a tiebreaker to be had there either.
And the other one's Kareem Hunt or Samaje Perine. I'm going to go Samaje Perine here in this matchup. I, especially in a passing game script, this looks like it's going to be. I like Samaje Perine. He plays a decent amount. He sees a lot of the third down work, and he's getting inside the red zone work as well. So I like Samaje Perine. I think in another really good matchup here for them.
Yep.
AP, Warren or Cup at the flex. I'm gonna go Jaylen Warren.
This is Jaylen Warren. Who would have thought?
Yeah. And then Gerald. Hey guys, how you doing, Gerald? Kyler, Russell, or Minshew? I'm gonna go Kyler.
Kyler.
And then I picked up Russell 808. I picked up Russell Wilson, as you guys said. Someone dropped CJ Stroud. Should I stream over? Absolutely.
Yes.
And 808, like who? Well, is that the same team where he has? Who do you have?
Is that the Hurts team? Or was that someone else had Hurts?
Oh, that was Michael. I think. Yeah.
We just had lineup questions for
808. Who do you have at starting quarterback already? Because like Stroud's like a top 5 quarterback right now. Like so yeah, absolutely. I'm picking up CJ Stroud and playing him.
I can't believe it was dropped.
And I don't even know. I couldn't even fathom why. I mean, I'm sure the team maybe has a lot of buys, but I guess I could maybe understand it. Maybe somebody had another elite option, and he was a guy that somebody either drafted late, as a late round quarterback, as a second quarterback, or something like that. But man,
that'd be the only thing I could think of. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, I'm picking up CJ Stroud. Then Gerald again, Warren, Mixon, Kirk, or Deontay. Choose one, half-point PPR. Thanks.
I'm gonna go Warren.
Yeah, I am too.
What could possibly go wrong?
It's just an incredible matchup, though. For
Yeah, half PPR. I think Warren has the highest touchdown upside out of this group. Touchdowns are going to count for a little bit more in half PPR versus full.
yeah, and then what's the next one? Jeff.
We
Happy to see
got
Jeff
Jeff
back in here. Jr. Carr, Baker, Goff, or Stafford to replace Josh Allen this week. I'm gonna go with Goff.
Goff.
And then Browns or Chiefs D. I'm gonna go with Chiefs here.
Chiefs.
And then Singletary or DK. I'm gonna go DK here on this one.
DK for me as well. The sweep.
Will, one of our true sons in here, from Mizzou, MIZ Will. So 10-2. I'm excited for next week. I want the bowl selections to come out. I just want it to be Penn State and Mizzou. That's all I want. That'll make me happy. If it's Penn State and Mizzou. So we'll see. Pick one quarterback tight end to stream this week. I have David Carr. That threw me
David.
off.
Wow.
Whoa.
Just
You've been holding on to that one
hope.
for a long time. This kid is, hey, I get it, If I could still roster Jeremy Hill, I probably would. Let's not lie about that. Should I drop him and pick up Gardner Minshew or Kenny Pickett? Let's see.
I mean, if Olave plays, I'd probably just stick with Carr. Like I know Pickett came out, had almost 300 passing yards last week, but I mean he still got you 10 fantasy points. You know what I mean? Like obviously if he throws a touchdown, now all of a sudden we're talking like 16 to 17 points. But I don't know. If Carr plays, if Olave plays, I would go Carr. Minshew has kind of been the same where, like his fantasy points haven't been great. Like the Titans defense has been better. In recent weeks, their passing defense hasn't been as atrocious as a lot of us expected going into this year. So I'd probably just rock with Carr. But if Olave doesn't play, I guess I would go Pickett. Someone asked me a question where I can not pick a Steeler. Starting to get sick to my stomach.
I'm going to go with Minshew. The things to like about Minshew this week is going to be the matchup is pretty good, but then also I would also argue that how fast paced this offense is. I just slightly lean towards Gardner Minshew, but it is close because I have Gardner Minshew at 15, Derek Carr at 16, and Pickett at 17. So it is pretty close. But I do agree. I think if Chris Olave plays, then I bump Derek Carr ahead of Minshew, and I think you just go with Derek Carr in that situation. So, and then from there, tight end, I'm going to go Juwan Johnson. Just go with the full stack. We're just going to stack it up. And there's actually a really strong corollary between tight end and the quarterback. Generally speaking, if the quarterback gets there, the tight end gets there too. So, it's a pretty good. There's pretty good correlation there. It's why so often in DFS we stack up the quarterback with the tight end. Will. All right. Also, should I drop Curtis Samuel and pick up Christian Watson? So I think I have a feeling. So my take would be I don't know if you might be the same. If it's for this week, I want Curtis Samuel. If it's long term, I probably prefer Christian Watson because it's possible that Christian Watson can kind of take off over the second half. They got him more incorporated and stuff like that after kind of a breakout game. But if it's just for this week, I prefer Curtis Samuel just because the matchup is really good.
Yeah, more or less along the same lines. I was just gonna say, like, if you need like the safer option, I think Curtis Samuel is safer. But if this is just like someone on your bench who you're kind of just like stashing and you want some upside, I would go Watson.
So many good defensive streamers this week. Could you rank these? Chargers, Rams, Falcons, Bucks. Yes, I can.
Chargers, Rams, Falcons, Bucks.
So Falcons would be 1 for me. Bucks would be 2, or no, do they have Rams?
Rams have Cleveland, and the Bucks have the Panthers.
Yeah, I just didn't know if he said so okay, so I would go Falcons, Rams, Bucks, then Chargers. And for clarification, I have the Falcons at 7, Rams at 8, Bucks at 9, and the Chargers ranked at 12. So
Yeah, but it's Falcons at 1. I could go back and forth on Bucks, Rams, but then Chargers would be last for me. So
TX, I need a tight end this week. Options are Chwan, Everett, Hunter
Ha.
Henry, Chig, Higby, and Conklin. Which do I pick up and would drop likely Spears, JSN?
Mm-mm-mm. I'd pick up Juwan. Man, I'd probably drop Spears.
That's kind of the way that I view it too. There's not a
And then
ton of like great options. If these are streaming options you have, if you drop likely somebody, and either A, you're gonna have to rebid on them, or you're gonna have to waiver, use another waiver ad on him, or something like that. Because he's gonna be the best option available next week when they come off of bye. So I would rather hold him if he's your starting option, assuming he is. I mean, then Spears would probably be I think your best option to drop. But and then just pray Derrick Henry doesn't get hurt. I guess
yeah,
I would want to punch myself in the throat if I did that. You drop somebody like that, and then all of a sudden the backup, which is kind of what happened to me with Keaton Mitchell. I was holding Keaton Mitchell for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I needed to drop somebody for buy, so I ended up dropping him because at that point he hadn't done anything. And then literally that weekend he goes off, and I was like, so
yep,
it's
never fails.
always. So that's one thing that would worry me. But yes, I think in this scenario, I think you drop Tajay Spears and then hope to pick him back up right after the bye.
Yeah, yep,
And then Howell, Carr, Stafford, or Russell this week. This is going to be Sam Howell for me.
yeah. Somehow
You know what?
it's either How or Carr for me.
Ooh, it's. Let me see. You know what? I actually think I might go Russ on this one. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go Russ. I'm gonna go Russ. So we went from agreeing to now we're not agreeing. ET, happy to see ET in here. Hey guys, could you help me start 3 or 4 running backs at a non PPR between ETN, Mostert, Stevenson, and Kamara? Thank you and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, ET. Merry Christmas.
ET.
Ooh. So ETN, Mostert,
Kamara.
and Kamara. KD23. What's up,
KD.
TFA? Stroud or Kyler? This is Stroud.
Stroud.
Thoughts on Jawan Johnson? Picked him up as a streamer flex play. Not sure if Olave will be cleared. Yeah, like we said, he got in a limited. That's really really solid. That happened because generally speaking, that is the first. Like I said, that is the first step in the concussion protocol to getting back. If they don't, that's why it's always been crucial to see a player because if you want to see them back at practice before Friday, because it's really almost impossible for them to play. Even if they come back for a limited on Friday, they're almost because they don't practice after that, and so there's no way for them to get into full practice. So that's why they always seem to miss after that. Because there has been a few players that have done that have come back on that Friday and then they're ruled out because they have no way of clear to get a full practice in to clear concussion protocol. So the fact that he's already possibly out there getting a little limited practice in on Wednesday is very positive for Chris Olave. So I think there's a better than 50% chance that he plays this week. And so I do think that there is a pretty decent option. But that doesn't mean that Juwan Johnson's dead either. If if Chris Olave plays because they're
Yeah.
still very limited in terms of pass catching options. So the only thing that worries you with Juwan Johnson is Taysom Hill really taking away opportunities and taking away touches and taking away, you know, touchdowns and stuff like that. That he kind of just shits on everybody's parade really within that offense. To be honest, Crystal, happy to see Crystal in here. Evening, Crystal. I need a one flex full PPR. Pickens, Thielen, Jaden Reed, or Isaiah Pacheco. This could be Pacheco for me.
I'll go Pacheco here as well.
And then defense, Jets or Browns.
Jets.
I agree. Brees, Garrett Wilson, Zach Moss, or Cooper Kupp. This is absolutely Zach Moss.
Yep. Who would have thought that those words would have ever come out of your mouth? Absolutely, Zach Moss.
Because years prior to this was me just shitting on Zach Moss, especially when he was with the Bills. So, but this year he's been incredible. Really, anybody on that offense that has ran the ball has been very good. And so, I mean, we've seen him in this matchup before.
Shout out Shane Steichen.
Not that I think he's going to do this again, but he had over 195 total yards and 2 touchdowns the last time. He's just going to see a monster workload there. And so I think Trey Sermon is on that team or something like that. So, that's exciting. Not really, but so I think 80+% opportunity share is heading his way in this matchup against the Titans. Mike, what's up, Mike? If Olave sits, do I start Gibbs or Eckler? Like, I have to wonder how does Chris Olave play not one to play Jahmyr Gibbs or Eckler, but because I mean I would play Gibbs easily over Olave, even whether Olave played or not, right?
I would play Eckler over the group. I know it's not a great matchup, but with Gibbs, you have to wonder what that's going to look like if they're playing with a lead. I know a lot of people were pretty pumped up with Gibbs last week because of the snap share and everything, but that was also from them playing from behind. Obviously, we're not expecting them to be doing that in this game. Eckler hasn't been great this season, but we know he's not really going to be ceding much work to Joshua Kelly. So I would lean Eckler here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hell's going on with Austin Eckler, honestly. I don't know if he's playing through something. We just don't know about it. I mean, it's really been the last 2 weeks because previous to that, I mean, he had scored 20 plus fantasy points in 3 straight games prior to that, prior to these last 2 games. But it's been weird. They've kind of scaled back his pass catching involvement a little bit. And last week he did see 6 targets, so that was better. But his rushing efficiency has gone way down. And like a lot of times when you watch him, like it feels like you're watching a fullback out there, not Austin Eckler. Like he doesn't look as explosive as he used to. Like I said, I don't know if it's an injury. I don't know if it's father time catching up with him. He is 28 years old. So,
all
but
the above.
yeah, but I mean, I would play Gibbs over Eckler. I have Gibbs ranked ahead of Eckler. The Saints defense has been one that's been absolute sieve. And if the Saints can keep this game close or even have a little bit of a lead, that is very positive for Jahmyr Gibbs. Last fish in the pond. Good evening over on Twitch. Just been holding it down since day one over on Twitch for us. This has been our OG Twitch guy here. So 22 people left in my survivor pool. Best Sunday or Monday pick. Thoughts on Miami, Jacksonville, Chargers, or Bucks? So in my mind, you can automatically just roll out the Bucks. Like I'm not. I know it's Carolina. I know Carolina's been really bad, but like Tampa Bay is not a team that I'm just like, yeah, they're going to go in there and smoke them. Like that's not in my mind. Jacksonville versus Cincinnati.
I think it would lean. Yeah, I think it would. Wait, I think it doesn't. Miami's schedule get pretty rough here. Let me see.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, after toward the end of the year, it does. So they have Titans next week, which should be okay. The Jets the week after, but then it's Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. So I think this week I would use Jacksonville.
And then I think I would too. It's I don't know. But yeah, the Jags should easily clear this.
Yeah. I would go Jacksonville.
Because I think you could save Miami if you want to, then fire them off next week against the Titans. I think it's kind of a good back to back setup that you already have in place.
Yeah, Cincy defense has not been great this year. Obviously, we're not talking about Joe Burrow. I would go Jags this week. I'd hold on to Miami. Chargers, you can never feel good about them. Same way with the Bucks. Like you said, like you would hope that they take care of a 1-win team, but it's no, it's not a guarantee with them.
Oh, I thought I had it on mute. That's rude. Let me clear your throat. Thoughts.
That'd be
Uh,
in my throat.
pitching Cup and Puka this week for Ridley and Moss.
Smart
I'm
move.
okay with it. I am okay with it. Zach Moss is a top 10 running back this week, so there's no shot I'm sitting him for anybody. And then just the way that Ridley's been playing, it does worry me a little bit, like game script wise. Is he going to see as much involvement? But the matchup is still pretty good for him, so I would just lean towards Calvin Ridley and the better offense, the better quarterback, and then like I said, Zach Moss is a lock. And then Jared Goff or Jordan Love.
Goff.
Agreed. Isaiah Williams. Do I start Cortland Sutton over who? But
I like Sutton this week. I have him as a mid wide receiver too. So I mean, especially with 6 teams on bye, you're likely starting him.
Yeah. And why is Zach Charbonnet getting so much hype? I know Walker got injured, but they aren't really using him. I mean, compared to what? Because let's see.
Yeah, actually, Zach Charbonnet had 18 opportunities last week. He saw 14 carries, 4 targets, and he also had an 88% snap share. So he's being used. The issue is the production. Like he hasn't been productive with the opportunities he's got, and there are a few running backs that you're looking at where you can just say, oh, okay, they're going to get 16 plus opportunities this week. Like that backfield is Charbonnet's almost exclusively. Let me see.
So you have to look at it. So last week he saw 87% of the snaps, 78% of the rush attempts, 72% of the routes, with a 15% target share last week. He also played 100% of the 2-minute snaps, 50% of the long down and distance snaps. So you are hard pressed to find anybody that's going to see that kind of workload. I get it. He wasn't impressive last week, only scoring 10 PPR points. The week before that, when he handled 85% of the snaps, 71% of the rush attempts, 68% of the routes, kind of very similar. He had 13 PPR points. I get it. He hasn't been like explosive or anything like that, but the usage is 100% there, and you're just not going to find. He's going to give you opportunities throughout the entire game. Like he's really game script independent. Like he's not somebody that's going to need like a certain script to go his way, even if they fall behind like they did against the 49ers. He's still going to be involved. They'll utilize him in the passing game. And so he's just a strong play when it comes to that. Like, is he like a top 10 running back this week? No. Like, we have him as like a lower end RB2 because of the matchup they're facing against the Cowboys.
Yeah. Just you were talking about how he's kind of like game script independent. Earlier in the year, when the year first started, DJ Dallas was the one who was kind of getting the passing down work. In this past game, DJ Dallas was the only other running back to see any offensive snaps, and he saw 7 compared to 49 for Charbonnet. So, like, it's not an exciting play. It's not a good matchup. They're likely going to be trailing again in this one. But, like you said, you're going to be hard-pressed to find another running back getting 80+% of the snaps and, 75% plus of the opportunity. So is Charbonnet worth starting again? Like depends on your options. Like Kev just said, we have him as like a back end RB2, but 6 teams on by again, you're likely starting him. So Isaiah, if you wanna let us know what options you have at wide receiver and at running back, we can help you get your lineup set a little bit better that way. Augustin, I need to set my RBs, wide receivers, and my flex. Kamara, Monty, Singletary, Moss, Javante, Devonta, Scary Terry, T. Higgins, and Drake London. I'm going to assume this is going to be like a 2-2-1, but just to be safe, Kev, let's give him 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex, just in case. So it's going to be Kamara and Monty. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't see Zach Moss there. So that's going to be.
It's going to be Kamara and Moss. And then wide receivers, if it's 2, it's Devonta.
And McLaurin for me. If it's 3, Drake London. And then in the flex, I'm going to put Monty. So Kamara, Monty, Zach Moss between your running backs and flex. And if it's 2, I'm going Devonta, Terry. And if it's 3, I'll throw in London as the third wide receiver.
Yep, I'm good with that.
YouTuber in win now mode to avoid the forfeit, so I traded away Wilson and Charbonnet to get Moss and Addison. Was this an all right move? Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, with Taylor hurt now, I want Moss over Charbonnet for sure. And then Addison and Wilson are kind of a wash. Like what Wilson has been doing better, obviously with Justin Jefferson coming back. That's going to push Addison down a little bit further, just because I just don't see Dobbs being able to support Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, and Addison. But I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so there was some of the Twitter docs today that were discussing Jonathan Taylor and saying that like the 2 to 3 week window that Jim Irsay was putting out there seems a bit rich. Like that seems less likely that it would probably be more like 4 to 5 weeks for him to be able to be back from this. And so, I mean, at very least, even if it's 3 weeks, what they were saying, you're talking about week 16 for him to even be back. And so, if that happens, and who knows where they're at by that point, but I mean, Zach Moss, it's a home run. Like you just picked up a top 12 running back easily. Whereas Charbonnet, he probably gets this week. And then you start to look at Walker being a possibility of being able to be ready by then. And so, because that gives him almost 3 full weeks off without playing. So, yes, because Charbonnet then goes back to kind of being at least, very least, 50-50 guy. And then Garrett Wilson I know Aaron Rodgers, the practice window got opened up today. People, I saw people like in my own home leagues running out and picking up like Alan Lazard and all these guys from the Jets because, Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. I still am skeptical of that because, like, I mean, they're not like this team that's like on the brink of the playoffs right now. And so it's many games they've lost in a row. And so I don't know what they're doing with that, but I'm perfectly okay with moving on from Garrett Wilson for Jordan Addison. I know Jordan Addison isn't as sexy, especially with Justin Jefferson coming back, but either way, I still think you hit a home run with getting Zach Moss. Because Zach Moss, when he was healthy or when he was the starter, I mean, he was balling every single week.
Yeah, he was really good. Like it made you wonder if we're going to see JT with a full workload this year. But with Isaiah, Jaden Reed, or Sutton, that's going to be Sutton for me.
Slightly, yeah. I do really like Jaden Reed this week, but I would still go Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton's been the wide receiver 1 in that offense.
And then Charbonnet or Connor, I would lean Charbonnet.
Yes.
Isaac rocking with us. Charbs or Tubes?
I'm going to go Charbonnet. Oh, and that makes sense. 808 said he has, because we were asking about the quarterback, he has Hurts and Josh Allen. So, yeah, that makes sense. You don't need Stroud long term. But my mind is with the playoffs coming, I want to block somebody else from getting CJ Stroud. So, yes, I would pick up CJ Stroud.
DK or Ridley. This is going to be Ridley for me.
It's going to be DK for me.
Puka or DK is going to be DK.
I'm going to go with Puka on this one.
Oh, boy. You are ready to be hurt, aren't you? Love or Kyler? I'm going Kyler.
Agreed.
Patty Fry or Schultz? We're going Fry or Mouth.
Yeah, this is Patty Fry.
Isaac is talking about I may trade Chuba for Taysom with Kincaid on bye. I don't hate it. I mean, assuming that Chuba is like not that he's, especially now with Sanders getting that closer to a 50-50 split.
I mean, at least with the rush share, because last week Chuba still played 64% of the snaps, but he handled 48% of the rush attempts to 52% of the rush attempts for Miles Sanders. And then he only ran 16% of routes compared to 68% of the routes for Chuba Hubbard. And Chuba Hubbard also saw a 21% target share to only a 4% target share of Miles Sanders. But yeah, at least in the rush attempts department, they kind of split 50-50. But I don't really love trading for Taysom. I mean, I guess you can. I don't know.
I mean, it would depend to me what options are available for you on waivers, Isaac. But like, if Chuba is, like I said, if Chuba is like your RB 4 or 5 or whatever, and like he's just like kind of just sitting there on your bench, like I don't look at Chuba as like someone that I need to hold on to. Like I think that has lost its luster. Like I said, I don't hate it, I don't love it, but I'm fine with it, especially for this week. If they're going to be banged up, like regardless of whether or not Olave plays, like we've seen them use Taysom. We saw him use a little bit more as like an actual receiver last week as well. So I'm fine with it, depending on what options you have.
Yeah, it just feels though like if it's just for this 1 week, which it would be, that I think it ultimately depends on. So I think it would ultimately depend on, for me, where you're at, right? Like, is it like a must-win game for you? Then maybe you think about doing it. If it's
Yeah,
not,
that
and
makes
like you're
sense
kind of
too.
locked into the playoffs, I'm not doing that because like I want that running back. Where Taysom Hill is very boom or bust, and then like I said, you're probably not going to play him after this week. You're probably going to stick with Kincaid, obviously. And so if it, like I said, if it's a win now, you have to have this week. Okay. If not, no, I'm not doing it. I would just stream the position and keep it moving. Sam Howell or Jordan Love this week?
Man, I'm gonna lean Howell. I'm just not ready to trust Jordan Love yet. Like if the matchup were better, I would lean Love. We've seen him put together some good performances in back-to-back weeks, but I'm just not sure about this matchup against KC. I know the Miami defense has gotten better, especially with Jalen Ramsey coming back, but they are going to be banged up, obviously, with that defensive end just tore his Achilles, whose name is escaping me right now. Can't think what his name is. And they also might be without Javon Holland, I believe. So it could make life a little bit easier on Howell.
I would go. Excuse me. I would go Howell. Yeah, you're talking about Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, the edge just tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the name was not coming to me.
Yeah.
The only name that was like even coming close for some reason, and I knew it was wrong, was the the end that the Jets drafted either this year or the year before. Like I knew he was on the Jets, but like that was like I can only think Johnson, the kid from Florida State. That's the only name. I knew there was a J in there somewhere. Slippy, slappy, swampy. Check the briefcase. Samsonite. I was way off. Anyway, do you guys have a P.O. Box or Addy? I could send you guys a care package from Hawaii. Just appreciate all the help. Maybe message you guys on Discord. Anyway, appreciate it, my guy. But all we need is your presence and your questions. That's all we really need. Appreciate you you thinking of us. Kev looks like he's getting ready to tell me to fuck off, and he wants something from Hawaii. Like, why would you say that?
No. You don't have to do that anyway. We
Yeah.
100% appreciate it. Appreciate the
It's the
judgment.
thought that counts.
Yes, 100%. We appreciate it. But without you guys, we would just be talking to ourselves. So we've mentioned that before.
Which,
We've done
yeah.
it. You know, it's been years ago, but yes, we've done it. There was a time when there was like nobody in the chat. Maybe like I said, maybe my mom was in here or something. You know,
It
the
was
one
like
person.
Ashton and Walito just asking us questions over and over again.
Well, we used to like back in the day, like this was like probably before Cody was on here all the time. We would like go on Twitter and like just like find questions people were asking, like because people would like message like ESPN Now whenever they're live, like no one's ever answering that, and so we would just go in there and like and just pull up those questions and answer those because like what else are we gonna do? And so yes, so we just appreciate everybody that just comes in, spends their time here. You know, everyone busy has other stuff going on, so 100% appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jeff, when Zay gets back off bye, should I start him rest of season over Puka?
I mean, I think a matchup is dependent on that. I'm not just gonna say absolutely, but yeah, you're at this point, and I don't know. Like, it's tough to say. Like, there's been a lot of discourse this week about Puka and like, is he? You know, what was this all a fluke that we saw from him? Like, is he not as good as we thought? Like, I don't think that's the case. I just think Matt Stafford is. I know he had 4 touchdowns last week, but like a lot of that was kind of fluky too. Where not fluky, but it was like it was to Kyron Williams and to Tyler Higbee, and I just think that was kind of a fluke. I still think Puka is still a very. I think he's real. I don't think this was a mirage what we saw from him earlier in the year. But
Yeah.
Zay Flowers now with Mark Andrews out, I think he's just going to continue to see more work, and they've started to utilize him a little bit more downfield, which has also been a positive. So.
Truth missed out on Moss in first place, the last on the waiver wire. This is why Fab needs to be the standard. So you don't have to miss out. Anyway,
It may
whole
be
different
more than that. I
discussion.
mean, this could be a at least for the fantasy perspective, like a rest of season. I mean, if he gets placed on IR, which is a possibility, I mean, you're talking what 13, 14. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about he might be back for week 17. And so that would be that would pretty much be rest of season there for him. So
Yeah.
it is really untimely for this injury to come up. So hopefully it's only a couple of weeks and you can get him back for sometime in the fantasy playoffs, but we'll see.
But we need to start two here for Truth. Swift, Brees, Stevenson.
I'm going to go with Stevenson and Brees Hall.
I'm gonna go Stevenson and Swift. And then we need one at the flex, Kirk or Metcalf. That's gonna be Metcalf for me.
Agreed.
Chip. Good to see Chip back in here. I haven't seen you for a while. Hope all has been well. Jalen Guyton or Zay Jones in a PPR.
I'm going to go Jalen Guyton.
I'm gonna go Guyton as well. I'm just gonna take the swing and I'm gonna go Guyton. Utley, need a third wide receiver to start. AJB Tank. Do I start Pickens or Dotson as my third? I have Pickens ahead of Dotson this week.
Agreed. Yes, I like Pickens quite a bit this week.
El Nino is Spanish for the Nino. You start one this week. Warren. I like Warren versus Cardinals, but I don't know who to bench. Rashad, Warren, Gibbs, or Bijan. Oh boy, I like Gibbs. I mean, I like Warren a lot this week as well, but I don't think I could pull the trigger over the other three.
The only conversation that I think that you could have is between Rashad White and Jalen Warren. I think that would be your conversation. Gibbs and
Yeah.
Bijan are not getting sit for Jalen Warren. I think there's a conversation to be had with Rashad White. Just something with Rashad White. I talked about in the running back video with the Panthers have actually been better against the run recently. If you just look at their raw numbers, like their fantasy points against on the year, it's going to look like Carolina is just terrible. That's the reason why a lot of especially the last couple of like the last month, I've really just been trying to zoom in and just not just talk about. And I really don't even mention it that much anymore of their like how many fantasy points allowed. They've given up because it's skewed. Because I want to know how they've been operating over the last 4 to 6 weeks versus the entire year. Because if you did that, like the Broncos would still look, at really still
Yeah.
really bad because of how much they struggled earlier in the year. Where that's changed, and so the Panthers have been much better against the run recently. So they're not this defense that's been that was completely destroyed on the ground. Um, and so it Rashad White drops a little bit in terms of where I want to play him because the Panthers have allowed the ninth fewest rushing yards per game, and they have the 11th highest stuff rank and the 18th in yards after contact per attempt over their last 4 games. And so this isn't the easiest matchup that everyone's going to point at. They've still struggled in terms of on the ground allowing touchdowns. I think they've allowed 5 touchdowns over their last 4 games on the ground. But as far as everything else, they just haven't been this sieve of an offense that everyone thinks that they've been on the ground. And so Rashad White is pretty close. Like Jalen Warren definitely has the better matchup. I will say that. But Rashad White sees 80% of the snaps. I mean, he's an 80% opportunity guy. And so he's going to be able to get there. And he's heavily utilized in the passing game too, which really kind of pushed it over. So that's where I think I still would lean Rashad White over Warren, but it's much closer.
Not good at fantasy. Name some receivers. Tell me if you want them over Jamar Chase rest of season. Waddle, Olave, Pittman, and Tank Dell. And I am going to take all of those receivers over Jamar Chase rest of season.
I think I would take Jamar Chase over Waddle. I would take Jamar Chase over Olave. I wouldn't take him over Tank Dell, and I wouldn't take him over Pittman, but it would be close. I mean, Jamar Chase is still the wide receiver one. And I know, but Browning, like I said, he's okay. Like he's still a backup quarterback, but I mean, last week with him, I mean, he saw at 12 PPR points. He still saw a 25% target share. Obviously, the offense is not nearly as good. I mean, I guess T. Higgins is also coming back. That's something we haven't seen, yet within this offense, how that's going to operate. I mean, it's really close between Waddle and Olave. If I would rather have him over, maybe it pushes, where you'd rather have those guys over him. But it's like I said, it's still Jamar Chase, and he's still going to see a heavy target share.
Ray has a couple questions sitting in a good spot. We're about to get to them. Sports Spotlight, Charbonnet or Chuba Hubbard. This is going to be Charbonnet for both of us. Jalen Hurts versus the Niners at home or Dak versus the Seahawks and standard scoring 6 points per touchdown. Played Dak last week. Both QBs went off. My opponent has Lamb. Dak is crazy at home. Man. I'm still going to stick with Hurts, but it's really close.
So these are Jalen Hurts finishes this year. QB 19 week 1, and then 4, 9, 6, 3, 2, 5, 5, 3, 11, and 2. He's only scored less than 20 fantasy points once, and that was all the way back in week 1. Other than that, he has scored 20 plus fantasy points every single game. I don't care they're playing 49ers. Like that doesn't mean like I don't like I like Jalen Hurts just gets there because of the ground, because of his rushing upside. Once they get down to the goal line, he's the guy. He's their goal line back. Like his ceiling is his floor is just incredible. His floor is 20 fantasy points. And that's not I mean, Dak has been very good. That's why I have Dak at QB2 this week. So it is very close, obviously, between those two. But Jalen Hurts has just been the most dependable quarterback all year long. And so I will say this, Seattle is it's not it's not a bad matchup, but Seattle's corners have been pretty good, especially their outside corners have been very good this year. I think it's a little bit different of a matchup here for Dak. Not that I obviously have Dak at QB2, but I just can't ever sit Jalen Hurts. Like there's no world where I mean Jalen Hurts, like I said, just continually scores 20 plus fantasy points every week. You don't have to worry about it. And he has a ceiling of 40 plus.
And we've seen there was that stretch of games where we saw San Fran just get taken to the woodshed too, like that game Kirk Cousins had where it was like 400 passing yards and just lit them up. So they can be had. Defense question here from Ray: Bucks, Jags, Colts.
It's gonna be Bucks for me, I think. Yep, it's gonna be Bucks.
I'm gonna go Jags, but it would be between Jags and the Bucks. Colts would be a distant third for me. Uncle Ted, rocking with us as always, just screaming into the abyss about bad players. Love to see you here, Ted. Para coming through the weekly update. Remember the Sutton AJ Brown guy who I won last week, 10-2 now. Also traded JT for Gibbs today. One of the weekly update. Let's go. Love to see it. Appreciate you coming through with that update, Para.
Still, still, just a terrible trade. Terrible, terrible, or not, or terrible trade. That was the one that got that didn't get vetoed. And everyone thought that it was just fine.
Oh yeah, with the
And
commissioner.
it was between the commissioner and it was between like a team that was in second or first, and
Oh
then
yeah,
it was out of the
yeah.
playoffs. Yeah,
Yep.
just terrible. Good. Let's keep the updates coming because we want you to win the whole thing.
Yeah. Let's go win the whole goddamn thing.
What I said, there's only one thing left to do: win the whole fucking thing.
If Olave's not, I'll be stuck playing Reed or Hollywood Brown. Someone dropped Brown yesterday for Moss, so Hollywood could help me out.
Playing Jaden Reed over Hollywood Brown this week.
They're both really close. I have Brown, I think maybe just like 2 spots ahead of Jaden Reed, I believe. I think I have Hollywood at like 25 and Jaden Reed at 27. So they're both really close for me. Gator. My kid got Gator Golf for Christmas. It's been fun. Or for his birthday, rather. Ever played Gator Golf? No?
Nope. I have not.
It's like Hungry Hungry Hippos, but with golf ball.
Okay.
Kind of. Anyway, Mitch or Howell. I'm gonna go Howell on that one, and then Gino or Goff. I'm gonna go Goff.
Agreed. Yep, on both those.
Kells. Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since Kells has popped up in the chat. Good to see Kel's in here. Watson or Rice? I'm the flex. This is gonna be Rice. This is gonna be Rice for me.
I completely agree.
CVB, should I pick up Watson or Douglas stash for playoffs? Pretty light on RB. Anyone you would pick up, current roster below full PPR. So it would be Watson over Douglas for me. And then the roster is Allen, Purdy, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Pickens, Zay, Thielen, Reed, McCaffrey. Get you light on. You're not light on our unless there was a typo in there.
I mean, maybe in terms of depth, because if that's the only running backs, they only have 3 running backs. So I mean, yeah, no, you're not light in terms of who you have. I mean, having McCaffrey obviously is the nuts this year. And then Gibbs has been fantastic. Pacheco's been better. So like those 3 are awesome. But in terms of like any depth past them, yeah, you are light on depth there. If something were to happen to one of them or 2 of them, really, you would be in a world of hurt. But
I mean,
like
the only ones I could think of that might be widely available right now. I mean, I wouldn't mind at this point of the season handcuffing your own running back, so getting Elijah Mitchell to go with McCaffrey, or you could go to look for like Dearness Johnson is probably widely available. Like I would be like maybe looking at like a handcuff type back because like you don't need a starter with McCaffrey, Gibbs, Pacheco. So I would just be looking for a straight upside with handcuffs. So Rico Dowdle, Dearness Johnson, Elijah Mitchell. I'd be looking for a handcuff type back.
the only problem I see here, Crystal, is so where you're taking the depth from is because you are having 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. It's tough because I would say just drop Brock Purdy after this week. Once Josh Allen's back, because there's never a game that you're going to want to play Brock Purdy over Josh Allen, and then probably the same with Kincaid. Like you could drop Taysom Hill. You could probably drop Brock Purdy. Like Brock Purdy's not gonna like kill you, like and like someone like CJ Stroud would or something like that, where like I would not want to drop CJ Stroud just because of that. But Purdy not really gonna hurt you, and like there's no reason to hold on to them, especially after they're off by. You're just burning a roster spot at that point at quarterback and at tight end, and then use those spots to backfill running back as depth pieces. And like, yeah, I definitely agree. Dearness Johnson. I think that Michael Carter is another option that we've kind of talked about. That could be somebody that gets more run down the stretch as a Rico Dowdle. If he was sitting out there, I definitely want to roster him if something were to happen to Pollard. Uh, Obviously, if Roshan would be sitting out there, like Roshan to me, he very well could have just taken over this backfield. We saw it last game where he legitimately took over the backfield. And it very well. I mean, we see this a lot, especially for teams like this, where you want to see what they got, see who they see what they bring to the table. And so, like Roshan, like we did the show before that game happened, the waiver show. But like he would have been, because he was rostered in less than 50% of leagues, like the number 1 waiver ad for me this week, because he very well could have this offense the rest of the year. So Roshan would definitely be a guy. Now, obviously, with the Zach Moss stuff, Zach Moss would would have put Zach Moss over Roshan just because of the offense, how well they played it previously. But that's also could be a shorter term thing, which depends on it. But I think those guys make a lot of sense in terms of players that you can stash.
Gator has a spare roster spot. Would you stick with Cleveland this week or play Colts or the Chargers? I would just stick with Cleveland between those options.
Yeah, for sure.
Cup or Kirk rest of the season for Nino. Nino.
I'm gonna go with Cup, but
probably, yeah, but it's closer than what it should be or needs to be. I got this thumb surgery today. Kels, who'd you pick him? Who'd you pick and play over Godwin? Noah Brown, Mingo, or Dortch if Mike Wilson does not play? It would be Dortch if Wilson doesn't play.
Oh, Mike. I was like Mike Wilson, but I was like, oh, Michael Wilson. Yeah. So Noah Brown's interesting because, and there's some injuries we're gonna have to monitor this week. I don't care. I'm not really all that concerned with Wednesday injury reports of guys not practicing because it is much more of a maintenance day for a lot of players, especially your top guys. But I will say Tank Dell didn't practice today. I think he had an injury pop up today. I'm not. I'm very mildly concerned right now. Now, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, then red flags go up. And if Noah Brown plays, then Noah Brown would become an elite play this week. So,
Yeah, good call.
but right now, I think Greg Dortch is the one that makes the most sense because I don't think Michael Wilson plays. Also, from that game as well, we also had Trey McBride didn't practice, Hollywood Brown didn't practice today. But again, I don't care about Wednesday practice reports. Like a Thursday is the first one that I care about. Of because, like I said, like Wednesday is used so much as just like a maintenance day, guys getting the day off and stuff like that. So we just don't really know of those situations. So
Yeah, good call on the Tank Dell Noah Brown situation. Another one here from Gator. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, I have to start Hubbard or Pierce, or I can pick up either Freeman or Roshan.
Gator, I would pick up Roshan Johnson. They're on bye, so it didn't matter for you this week. But I want Roshan Johnson. If Roshan Johnson is sitting in my waivers, I am picking him up immediately because he very well could be the league winner this year. It's very possible that he could finish out the rest of the season as the lead back. And if that's the case, then he could be that guy, especially when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields, who always quarterbacks like that always elevate their other running back because teams can't just force, can't just stack the box and try to stop the running back. You have to keep in mind of the quarterback. So if Roshan's sitting out there, I want Roshan no matter what on my roster if he was sitting out there.
What about
So
for the play this week?
I would play Hubbard, and I would drop Damian Pierce for Roshan Johnson.
There you have it. Caver, your kicker rankings ready yet?
Always.
Matt Gay or Aubrey?
This is going to be Brandon Aubrey. Got Brandon Aubrey at kicker 3.
There we go. There you have it, Ray. Straight from the horse's mouth. Truth. Hey, guys, need one wide receiver, half PPR. Samuel Lockett Watson.
I'm going to go with Samuel here.
I'm going to go Samuel as well. And then we need 3 running backs between Connor, Javonte, Achane, and B-Rob.
Javonte, Connor,
Achane. Don't hem and haw.
I'm going to go Achane.
Okay, thank you. Ashton coming through the super chat. Appreciate you, my guy. Carr or Stafford? I would play Carr if Olave plays. If he does not, I would roll the dice with Stafford.
I'll go Derek Carr.
And then start 2 flex in the PPR. Brees, Warren, Godwin, London, Watson.
Brees and Warren.
Yeah, I'm with you. And also, like and subscribe, like Ashton said.
Do they say y'all up in Canada? I didn't think that
I
was a
don't
thing.
know.
I guess they do. I mean, we have a Canadian in the flesh. And appreciate you as well, Ash. Hold it down as moderator. Walito apparently he just doesn't. He's just non-existent anymore. So, hate to see it.
Oh, he knew he couldn't do as good of a job as Ashton, and instead of like to show up, it's kind of like like when you're about to get fired, like you're just not going to show up to work. You know what I mean? Probably came in the one day as we were talking shit on him, said that he saw now he sees a little tool thing next to Ashton's name, and he stepped in, he saw it was going out, and he bounced.
His feelings are hurt.
So when you think you get to know someone, then show their true colors, and Walito just bailed on us.
Yeah. How would you guys rank these quarterbacks this week? Herbert, Stroud, Brock, and Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so I would go Purdy, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence.
What about Stroud?
Oh, sorry, missed that. So I would go Stroud, Purdy, Herbert, Lawrence. Yeah.
Purdy, Stroud, Lawrence, Herbert for me.
Hmm. Okay, well, someone's gonna be wrong. It's not gonna be me. So, should I drop any of D Hop, McLaurin, or Flowers to add Rice?
I would drop
Yeah,
D Hop.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Abe, honest Abe, agrees with us. How I feel about the first 400-yard game in 59 games. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's still Kenny Pickett at the helm. He's still not going to be able to. He's still not the answer. I don't know. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. And they still put up what 13 points, 17 points, something like that. Like,
hey, that is progress, sir. Okay,
well,
it's sad.
that bar was really low.
It's so sad because like early in the year, it was like the during like the off season,
God,
Cody was
I should have known it.
like it was so
Should have
hard,
known.
heavy on the Steelers, excited about them, everything else. Like it was weird, like to
Should have
hear
known.
because Cody is like the typical. I hate this team. I don't know why I still follow them. I'm gonna bash everything that they do. Nothing they do is right. Just Eeyore fan of the of all time. And then
They call me old Steor.
and then just he's right back to it. Just it got kicked in the nuts. It's crazy because they're what 7-4. Like it's not like
Fraudulent.
but and then they come out and they have a solid game. It's funny. Like I think we talked about this the next gen stat stuff where like with Matt Canada like all of their
They
targets
finally
were like
threw
on the
all
edge
over the
on the
middle.
outside every single week, and now they finally all of a sudden he's gone, and then they start actually throwing over the middle.
Was is Isaac up next? I saw he had something coming up, but I wanted to scroll up because I couldn't remember what he was talking about with the tight end. Was he up next? Or just go to Isaac? I know there's he's coming close.
No, he's
Um,
next.
oh,
He was
okay.
next.
So this was the Chuba for Taysom with Kincaid on by. I would rather go. I mean, it's super point chasey. And I think Isaac said he was 7-5 too. So I mean, it seems like you should be good. And like depending on how the rest of your league looks. Like Kemp said, if you're fighting for like that final spot, I think I would still make that trade. And I know you put your running backs in here somewhere too. Swift, Pacheco, Charbonnet. So with those running backs, Isaac, I would not make the trade, and I would just pick up Higby. Because you trade away Chuba. Not that he's been a fantastic option by any means over the past couple of weeks, but then you're getting really thin because Charbonnet is probably going to be taking a back seat potentially as early as next week. And then you're only going to be left with Swift and Pacheco. And if your waiver wire is that ugly for a tight end, I can't imagine what it looks like for running back.
Yeah, I think you probably look at either. I think the options you have sitting out there, especially if somebody like Tucker Craft isn't sitting out there. So I would mention that too. I do kind of like him in a spot where they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. But if not, I think Hunter Henry's fine. And I think Chig is fine. I think both those two options would be fine options to pick up and play. And then, so I would not make the trade. Like you don't have the depth to be able to or to make the trade, and it's for 1 week. So,
Yeah.
and generally speaking, I mean, your tight end's really not going to decide if you're going to win this week or not, right? Like it's just not with who you have here. So, I would not make that trade.
Hoosier coming through with the super chat. Appreciate you, Hoosier. Good evening to you as well. I don't know if y'all remember my squad, but I traded Saquon and Laporta for ETN, Thomas Likely. 5 and 7. Did I panic and screw myself? I mean, rest of the season, I want ETN over Saquon. Laporta has started to fall off a little bit. I mean, at 5 and 7, you likely have to make some moves. So now the team Goff, Kyler, AJB, Pittman, D Hop, Douglas, Palmer on IR, JT Connor, Singletary, D Ernest, Jeff Wilson. Gonna grab Roshan off waivers.
I mean, I don't think you necessarily screwed yourself. Especially with a team that you're 5 and 7, like you have to win. And obviously Saquon's on bye this week, so he doesn't help you. And so I think just looking at that, like I know that usually that doesn't like should be that big of a deal, but this late in the season, whenever you desperately need a win, it could end up being something that saves your season. Like you don't have the luxury of like, oh, we'll be fine, and wait it out. Like you're 5 and 7, there's likely 2 weeks left, depending on when your guys' playoff starts. You need both of these last two games to make it in, and so I'm fine with doing it. Like overall, did you lose the trade? Like in terms of like value, yeah. Like I would rather have Saquon and Laporta, in a vacuum. But I think for what you need the opportunity, and you need these you need as much points as you can get right now to be able to win. So I'm fine with it because you need this win this week. So I think ETN and Logan Thomas, something you plug in this week. Obviously, ETN Saquon I think is very close between the two of them, and then Laporta obviously goes over Thomas is likely, but it's not like you got like screwed or over or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I think overall, actually, I don't think you screwed yourself. I think you probably made a smarter move just by doing that, because if you lose probably this week, I would assume you're probably out of the playoffs. Now, I've also seen leagues where maybe you're not. Maybe the other teams in your division are right there with you, so it's possible too.
I like grabbing the fact that you got both of those tight ends too, so you can just plug in Logan Thomas, not have to play the waiver wire game. I like that. I like that move. GV, Pierce, or Freeman? I think I'm gonna go. Man, I think I'm gonna go Freeman.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Pierce.
So sad.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I don't know if anybody's sitting out there like a Royce or no Royce Freeman, like a Samaje Perine as an option. I think you could look at somebody like him, even like a Kenneth Gainwell could be maybe a better option. I mean, Damian Pierce saw a little bit of in his first game back from action. Let's see. I just had that.
He was bad.
I mean, no, he wasn't good. I mean, he scored 3 PPR points, but he played 19% of snaps. I did see 42% of the rush attempts compared to 50% to Singletary. He only ran 11% of routes, only 3% target share. But I will say Denver has been really bad against the run. The thing that would worry me about Freeman is now that Kyron's another week back from the injury, he got through it just fine. Does he go back to playing where it's 85% of the snaps and he's just the complete workhorse, and has Freeman gets no opportunity at all? Freeman's also not involved in the passing game, so that also kind of lowers it a little bit. So I mean, he could get kind of empty calorie touches where it just doesn't really matter. He doesn't see the goal line. I have slightly leaned towards Pierce, but I don't really want to play either one of them. But I get it. You may not. You it sounds like you don't have a choice with in the matter of options that you could possibly look at playing. I'm trying to think. Is there any other options you could look at? I think some off the wall plays. If Aaron Jones doesn't play this week, I think you could look at Patrick Taylor. I know our good old buddy mentioned it above. AJ Dillon's
Okay.
going to play. I'm not worried about AJ Dillon not playing. Again, it's Wednesday. Not worried about Wednesday practice. But if AJ Dillon were to miss, Patrick Taylor could be somebody that sees, gets involved a little bit in the passing game. The game script against the Lions really wasn't there for that to happen. Last week whenever they won that game, they kind of controlled that game quite a bit, so that wasn't there. But I think in a matchup against the Chiefs, where if the Chiefs were able to build a lead, that is somebody that could see more work in that department. So you could look there as another option.
Dearness Johnson, I think I would play over both of them.
Yes, Dearness Johnson, and then like maybe like a Joshua Kelly, if he can, find his way into the end zone, he's going to see touches. I don't know how much, but like I don't love that. I still would probably play Damian Pierce over him. Michael Carter, he saw 4 targets last game, but I'm not sure if that was more just game script, the game being over. But still, that is at least useful in even a half point PPR. I think all of those guys are players you can kind of look at.
Yeah. RD rocking with us has Laporta. Would you trade Kincaid for Gibbs? And I absolutely would.
Ronnie, you haven't hit the accept button yet. I would have. That would have been like, up, yep, immediately.
512. So 2 running backs and a flex: ETN, Kamara, Kyron, Moss, Hall, Pacheco. This is the 6-team non PPR.
Speaking of which, I just saw Ray say he's a Steelers fan, and I don't know why it just made me think of Crab Gravy because I know he has Steelers as a. I haven't seen Crab Gravy in here in a while.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ray was one of the first Steeler fans to rock with us over the past couple years.
Oh yeah, I love seeing Ray in here.
I'm gonna go Moss, Pacheco, ETN.
My goodness.
I know. See, this is where like people try to like shit on 8-team leagues and things like that, which I get. You know what I mean? Like that you have more options available, but when it comes time for you to set your lineups, like every single decision is going to make or break your week. Like I would not want to be forced with choosing this group week in and week out.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. Everything you said is 100% truth. At the end of the day, we're playing a game about a game. You should probably, you should be shitting on anybody if that's how they want to play and they enjoy it. Good for them. Like it doesn't really matter. Like I don't know. People that try to like be all high and mighty, like, oh, if you're not playing in a 12-team league, are you really even playing? Like, shut up. I would go ETN. Zach Moss. And in a non PPR, I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. It's so tough to sit Kyron Williams, though.
It's really tough to go past Kyron Williams.
Yeah, I can't sit Zach Moss. ETN, I'm not sitting. Fuck. If you want to go Kyron, I could totally see it too. Cleveland has been up and down in terms of how they performed against the run. on the season, again, it's another one of those good points. They've allowed the 12th fewest PPR points on the season to running backs. But over their last 4 games, they have started to struggle. They have allowed the third highest explosive run rate over that span. They're top 10 in yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles forced per attempt. The only thing they are 14th in stuff rank over that time. So it is not a bad matchup for Kyron Williams, as bad as we'd like to look at. But I mean, Isaiah Pacheco saw a really strong opportunity. Obviously, the much better offense. I think you could feel a bit better, more secure, being able to score a touchdown or two there as well for the Chiefs, and also equally really good matchup. The Packers have not been very good against the run, so it's really close. But in a non PPR, I just feel a little bit better about Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. Cam Cap coming through the super chat. Appreciate you, Cameron. Thank you very much. With Hawk on by, would you play Taysom or Patty Fry? I have to drop one to pick up my kicker. Who do I drop out of the 3 tight ends? Also have Lockett or Kyler to drop.
Drop Taysom.
Yeah, drop Taysom. Play Patty.
Or also, who do you have at kicker now? Wait, you can't just drop the kicker. I mean,
yeah.
But if you're not wanting to, I would just drop Taysom. You don't need 3 tight ends anyway. After this week, when are you gonna sit? Hawkinson. If you're wanting one for depth or something will happen to Hawkinson, yeah, I guess I'm fine with holding on to them. But you don't need 3 tight ends
though. Drop the kicker to grab Patty is what happened. Yeah, then I would just drop Taysom to pick up your kicker.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Alexis coming in here late. What are you up so late, old man? Normally you're in here at right when we start. Not this late.
The new Abby.
I know, I saw that too. I'm like, get out of here with your Raven stuff, bro. No one wants to see that.
Starting Bijan, Swift, Wilson, Devonta, Kyron. Pick one between Moss, Cup, and Olave. Is going to be Moss for me.
Absolutely.
Patty Fry or Ingram? I'm going to go Patty Fry.
I agree.
Everett or Patty? This is going to be Patty for me once again.
Yep.
Deontay Johnson or Curtis Samuel for Will is going to be Deontay for me.
Agreed.
Stafford, Pickett, Bryce Minshew. Pick one.
I'm going to go with Minshew.
Minshew for me as well.
Yeah. We'll let you know 808. Like I said, I don't know. There's this part of that that feels rude, like just say no to somebody like that about that, But at the same time, like I said, I truly 100% do appreciate the gesture, right? But
yeah, absolutely. Isaiah, let's get 1 to 10. How would you rate this season in fantasy? I don't know. It's been kind of shitty, in my opinion. Honestly, with the quarterback play, the injuries we've had. It's been seeing guys like Kyron Williams pop off has been fun, but like we have that every year. I don't know. Be like the
biggest problem has been quarterback play this year. It's been down. And even some of the elite guys haven't necessarily played up to the level that you kind of would see. Like Patrick Mahomes hasn't been, this awesome play that he normally is. Now, he's not been bad. It's just he hasn't been at the level. But we've had so many injuries at the quarterback position. The other teams, but these quarterbacks also have been bad. at quarterback this year. Just been kind of a weird year. We've had some really weird. I wouldn't say we've had a ton of injuries. Like it's not like we've had just like this bloodbath of like injuries all over the positions. We've had guys that have missed weeks, and stuff like that. But it's been a really weird year. The running back position is dying, honestly, and some of it is because of mainly because we had that draft where you had all these elite running backs, right? And we've been riding those coattails for the longest, like Dalvin Cook and Austin Eckler and guys like that have been like staples at being an RB1 every single year. Well, those guys are aging out and they're or falling off, and we really haven't backfilled it with a whole lot. And so, like the only real running back that you've been able to truly depend on this year has been Christian McCaffrey. All the other ones have been kind of hit or miss. Rashad White, I know we talked about him. I think he like 10 of the 12 weeks he's been at least a top 24 running back. But like the running back position, like you don't need a running back this year. Like you just don't. Like there's plenty of teams that have had like really bad running backs here, but are still crushing because of their wide receivers. This was a staple year, a banner year for zero RB. Like if you didn't draft running back early, you're probably doing pretty damn well right now. Not that all wide receivers have done well, because there's been some that haven't really produced the level that we thought they were going to. But for the most part, the wide receiver position has carried. I mean, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill,
CeeDee
Amon
Lamb.
Ross St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, like have just crushed every single week almost. And so if you've had those guys, they've been like cheat codes. And then we've seen other guys like Tank Dell who have popped up and have been
Nico
fantastic. Nico
Puka.
Collins has been really good. Michael Pittman has been way better than anybody would have given him credit for this year. I mean, nobody was on Michael Pittman heading into this year. Everybody hated Michael Pittman this year. I mean, so Brandon Ayuk has taken another step forward this year. He's been
Keenan
pretty
Allen
solid.
has been a fucking baller once again.
Yeah, and I'll be right there on the train of fading Keenan Allen after this year, and once again because of his age, because I am an ageist. But that's just been kind of the way to go this year. It's just been heavy, loading up on wide receiver early. As long as you avoided Cooper Cup, I guess, because Cooper Cup, outside of a couple weeks, hasn't really been it. But for the most part, like that's where it's been at. Like if you've loaded up at wide receiver, especially in PPR formats, like, and it's something we'll talk about next year, and maybe the pendulum will swing back to where running backs will be more prevalent. But I think it's going to take a couple more years of getting some really solid drafts with running backs in it to kind of backfill the position, because right now it's not great, at least in terms of the long term future of running back. Because even some of the guys we're competing on, Alvin Kamara is about to be aged out. Austin Eckler is 28 years old. Derrick Henry is 30 plus years old. Like, so a lot of these guys are going to continue to fall out, and it's going to take some time, I think. So we'll have some other players like Brees Hall will be another year removed. Hopefully, the offense will be better next year because Brees Hall has been really good. Guys like that, Bijan Robinson. Pray to God. I just hope the Falcons collapse so Arthur Smith gets shit canned after this year, because that team should be way better than what they are. So that would help. Jahmyr Gibbs obviously has been really good too, and another draft class, I think could help. But it's just been a really weird year where that's kind of how it's played out. Like you just don't really need running backs this year. It hasn't been that important. Where it used to be, years ago, it was you had to have the top running backs to really compete. And this year, it just really hasn't been the case. I mean, Christian McCaffrey has been awesome this year, and like I said, he's been the most reliable running back option we've had all year. But that's been pretty much it. Yeah, it's just been kind of a weird year. I didn't mean to go on that long of a rant.
So what would you rate it? I don't think did you give your rating? Scale 1 to 10.
Probably a 6 or a 7. Like this stuff, but I will say though, like we say this stuff all the time. Man, it's been so crazy, but we say that every year. Like crazy stuff happens, variance happens. That's why this stuff is so hard to do, especially in the preseason when we, kind of talk about like your sleepers and your must draft guys. Like it's so tough because there's so much variance in the NFL and so many things change on a year to year basis. It's hard to do that. So I still think it's been a fun year so far, but there has been a lot of frustration with mainly how bad the quarterback plays. The quarterbacks have been this year.
Not good at fantasy. Find an RB and win now. Would you trade Herbert and JT for Hurts?
It's a big gamble. Mainly because we don't know exactly how long JT is going to be out for. I mean, it's a hand
Right.
injury. We're not talking about like he tore his MCL or something, or sprained it, or I should say, not tore it. But if he sprained the MCL or something like that, where it's like, okay, like this could really affect him when he comes back. When he comes back, he's going to be fine. He's going to be Jonathan Taylor. And if Jonathan Taylor is back in 2 weeks, you're going to feel like an idiot for training him. But if he's not, it's going to be a home run.
Yeah. But if you're saying you're fine at running back,
If you're fine at running back, I would take the swing. Because like I said, if it's 2 to 3 weeks at best, you're looking at probably JT to be back week 16 or 17.
Isaac, would you do Chuba for Reed or Pop? I already have Watson.
I wouldn't do it for Pop
I
Douglas.
and I still don't think if I'm assuming it's the same team, Isaac from earlier, like I still wouldn't because you're still going to be left with that same issue of running backs. Because Charbonnet is going to be going back to like at best a timeshare running back once Walker is healthy, so it could be as early as next week. So I mean, I definitely don't try. I definitely don't mind trying to move on for Chuba, but if I did that, maybe you could pair Chuba with another receiver, and then maybe try like upgrade that RB3 spot is likely the direction that I would go. Sorry, been a lot of back and forth in the chat tonight. So if we skipped over anything, just drop your question. And again, we are behind though, so if we have yet to get to your question, don't fret. We will get there. But if we did skip over anything, just go ahead and drop it in. CHB week 13 by suck. Surf shot. Ankles are made of. Listen, if you want to go on your Rashad Penny rant, that's fine. But you cannot be talking about anyone being made of anything less that with what Rashad Penny has dealt with. All right, like that's where we will draw the line and call you out, CHB.
This
All
might be
right,
his first year where he's made it all the way through without any sort of injury, right?
Penny.
Yeah, because he hasn't played.
But he digresses. Which two running backs, Gibson, Dowdle, Dearness, or Jaleel?
CHB. I feel like I feel like it was just like last week or the week before that you come in with like these garbage running backs. I'm like, who are you playing? What's going on here? And like, how are we here again? But maybe it
Be
wasn't
Gibson
useful.
and Johnson for me.
I would go Gibson and Dowdle, but yeah.
Which two wide receivers, Puka, Watson, DK, or Pickens? It's going to be Puka and DK for me.
Agreed.
My task earlier is Jaleel McLaughlin droppable. Yeah, you can drop McLaughlin.
Yeah.
It's fun while it lasted, but now it's back to Samaje being the clear two. Amon Celtics, PPR. Do I start Brees Hall or Zach Moss? That is going to be Zach Moss for me.
Yeah.
Justin, I have Bijan, Etienne, and Kyron at running back. Very nice. Flex is Pittman. Should I bench someone for Kyron in a full PPR?
Yeah, I'd bench Bijan for Kyron in a full PPR.
Man. I really want to believe that Arthur Smith, like over the bye week, was like, you know what? I should probably stop being an asshole. and just play Bijan. And we did see Bijan have his best game, maybe not from a fantasy perspective, but at least from a usage standpoint. Like Tyler Algier got in the game, but it really wasn't until later on. Man. Mm-mm-mm. Man. I think I would still Justin, actually, let me ask this. Who are you starting at wide receiver? If you're still rocking with us, let us know who you're putting in at wide receiver. That'll because I would still like to start Pittman, and I'd like to roll all three of those running backs. But let me know who you're starting at wide receiver. Hey yo, coming through the super chat. Appreciate you, Anthony. What's up, PPR? Connor or Charbonnet?
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet for me, and then Ridley or Chase. I'm going Ridley.
I'm going Chase.
Mm-mm-mm. Appreciate you, A.O. Jake, trade Monty and Geno Smith for Tua and Brees.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
getting Tua for, I mean, assuming that you're starting Geno Smith, if you don't have another different quarterback, if you did, that would be a different conversation. Because then I probably wouldn't do it. Because Monty for Breeze straight up, I probably prefer Monty just because of the offense.
definitely prefer Monty.
But getting Tua is a pretty big upgrade for you over Geno Smith if you don't have, assuming you don't have another quarterback. If you don't, then yes. If you did have another quarterback that's like better than that, I probably would say no.
Dragonfire, Patty or Fergie Ferg. I'm gonna go Patty here.
I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson.
It's because we love him. It's tough love, right, Kev?
Absolutely. I know it sounds like we bag on Walito a lot, but
I
it's
mean,
also because
we
Walito's been
do.
here forever.
Yeah,
And we've had Walito on the show before. He's jumped in with us. We've had him on some shows. We give him a hard time, but he he is like he's been like one of our like he's been here since like the beginning and when it would literally just be Walito in the chat hyping us up, but we give Walito a hard time and but we absolutely love Walito. So I know we joke around a lot about it, but and also it made me think we need to do maybe one of those again sometime. I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing it, but the old free for alls where we so what we do is we drop the
yeah.
actual link to join the show and jump on the show with us live. And it was sketchy the first time we did it because we were a little nervous that like we were gonna have somebody just like have it out hanging out right in front of the camera or something, But which we had a couple people that were like laying in their bed with their shirt off and
It
like
was close.
okay, what is
Yeah,
this?
it
And like
was.
okay, but it was actually a lot of fun. People jump on, we talk to them, whatever, and so we should maybe do that again. That went over pretty well. We just haven't done one in a while, but anyway, it's all love between us and Walito. And I traded Connor for Pollard and 4 downs for Mike Evans and Gibbs. They hit a home run for Connor for Pollard, and then Ford and Downs for Mike Evans and Gibbs. Yeah, if you traded
I
Ford
like
and
that
Josh
too.
Downs, that's yeah, you absolutely crushed.
Yep. Augusta needs a RB2, wide receiver 2, and a flex between Pacheco, Achan, Ayuk, Debo, Olave, Puka. So let's start there before we tackle the tight end question. So I'm going to go Pacheco at the RB2. Wide receiver 2, I'm going to go Ayuk. In the flex, I'm going to go Olave if he plays. If he does not, I would go Achan.
If he does not, I would go Puka.
You're with me on the other two?
Yeah, absolutely. And then at tight end, I would go George Kittle.
It hurts me to say, but I'm with you. I think this could be one of those massive Kittle weeks. Like even with starting Ayuk, I would still go. Man, actually, I'm going to switch that. Even though I like that game a ton, I don't want to triple down on San Fran there. So I'm going to go Laporta over Kittle. Seeing the McCaffrey, we said Ayuk. I don't want to triple down there just in case.
And if your trade deadline is still open, you might look to move like Debo or something like that. Especially the week he came off of. I mean, he had one of
Yeah.
his better weeks. So I don't know if your trade deadline's still open, but yeah, that is a lot of 49er exposure there.
Dan Caps, need a flex here. Ford, Dearness, Downs, Moss, Reed.
That avatar is funny. Kermit the Frog. But we all know who won. So who won the battle?
That's going to be
Oh,
Moss.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
going to play
definitely
Moss and
flexing
Monty.
Moss.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Brian, thoughts on Brown's defense for the season? I have the Bucks for this week. I can grab Jags for next week.
So the remaining schedule is the Rams, obviously, this week, and then the Jags, Bears, Texans, and Jets. So I
It's
mean,
still good. Still a good
it's
schedule.
yeah, it's pretty solid. I mean, they got some pretty solid matchups in there. Yeah, so I would hold.
Hey, oh, sorry for missing this one. For whatever reason, we don't get alerted to some of these if they're like below like $5 for some reason. Not trying to ignore you. Do I start Charb over D Hop or Puka in a PPR?
Yes.
I would keep D Hop and Puka over Charbonnet.
I think I would play Charbonnet over D Hop.
I don't mind that. That game script just kind of worries me a bit. This is gonna be Goff for me. Kulturgeist.
Oh, I'm gonna go Sam Howell.
Curtis Samuel or Watson rest of season. Did we already?
Rest of season, I would go. Yeah, well, I think it was a question, and we were saying rest of season. I think someone was saying,
Oh yeah, someone
yeah,
just like said it.
rest of
Then
season, I would go Christian Watson.
yeah. Abe has a question. Rice or Achan, who are we starting at the flex?
I'm gonna go Reishi Rice.
I'm
There's a
gonna go
lot of
Rice.
volatility to Achan.
I'm gonna go Rice as well. Sammy B rocking with us. PPR flex Puka or Douglas if cleared to play. It's gonna be Puka for me either way.
It's gonna be what?
Puka for me
Oh yeah,
either
for
way.
sure. Yeah.
Puka over Douglas is okay. Never mind. That's
I can't imagine Rashee Rice is sitting out there
never mind.
in any league.
Nice. Got that one. CHB is down for the Friday free for all. CHB, you're only going to be allowed on the show if you wear one of your Rashad Penny jerseys. So
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
need
gonna
proof.
throw-
We need proof that you
yeah.
actually have one. So if we're gonna do it, you better go out. And if you don't have one, you better go pick one up. Uh, quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah, that's so like behind the scenes, like we can see when you join. If we do not see the Rashad Penny jersey, we're not gonna put you on. So just a heads up. Okay, so that's that's why Pittman is in the flex. So I guess I'm forced to answer that one, and I would sit Bijan for Kyron, and I leave Pittman in the flex.
And I can't tell if Isaac is asking a question because he said this a couple of times. I don't know if he's asking us or not about
Yes,
dropping,
it's been hard to tell with Isaac and Abe.
but he said something about dropping Dobbs. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. People are
But he
picking
also
up.
said people are picking up Browning and Zap. So I mean,
If it's a zero, I mean, if it's a single quarterback league, I don't know why. Like, there's no reason to have all those quarterbacks. You know?
I don't know why either, but that would be like the one case where like I would hold on to Dobbs then. Because if those other ones are getting picked up,
Yeah, because you'd be pretty screwed if you did lose somebody. You
yeah.
know? Like if somebody did get if your quarterback got hurt, then you're royally fucked.
And I feel like if you drop Dobbs and like you're forcing yourself to pick up Sam Darnold, then you know what I mean? Like and like you're handcuffing your quarterback at that point.
Pick up Joe Flacco.
I'm
Uh,
being forced to do that in a single QB dynasty league. So Lamar on bye. I traded for Cousins at the end of last season when Lamar got hurt to make a run. Made it to the finals, and we ended up just splitting the pot because that was when the Bills Bengals thing happened, and we both had players in that game, so we ended up splitting the pot. But then obviously Kirk Cousins went down. I had DTR, and he's obviously concussed, so it's between Flacco and Tim Boyle, and I think I'm going Flacco.
yeah, we've seen Flacco like have some relevance, right? And so not much, but like when he was last year when he was with the Jets. So yeah, I mean at least for him, like you could see him throw like 200, 225 or something like that passing yards. Um, whatever, maybe get a touchdown, but yeah.
Yeah. Gorilla Kid rocking with us once again. Appreciate you coming back. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. Pacheco, Ford, Mixon, Bijan, Moss. Okay, so let's start. I have the wide receivers right below.
Yeah, I see it. Pacheco and Bijan, or actually Pacheco and Moss. Sorry.
Pacheco and Moss, and then wide receiver Deontay, Puka, Wilson, Brown, Lockett. So that is going to be Deontay and Wilson for me. And then I will flex Bijan.
I'm gonna go with Puka and Garrett Wilson, and then I'm gonna flex uh Bijan Robinson. Yeah.
Adam, what should I do with my team? 12-team PPR, 7-5, quarterback Law and Howell, wide receiver Keenan Dell, Chase Ridley, running backs Kyron, JT, Warren, Charbonnet, Spears, Kelsey, and Miami's D. I think you're in a pretty good spot. I mean, obviously, Chase, the situation with Chase right now is not great. I think you can, your RB2 spot is kind of up in the air a little, or you're at least thin. Like I think Warren is now fine as an RB2. You're obviously going to be flexing one of your wide receivers, but I mean, assuming that your trade deadline is passed, like you're obviously not going to have a ton of options here. Um, and I think you're all right.
Yeah, I mean you're solid. I mean, at that really, you kind of look at Chase like he's your wide receiver 3 now, and that's not a bad wide receiver 3 to have, and or even wide receiver 4, considering if Ridley continues to do what he's been doing.
Right.
So you're in a really good spot there, and it's like we talked about. Like I want elite wide receivers, running back Kyron. I mean he's been obviously that first game back, and the usage he sees is awesome. Warren has been a really solid RB2 all year. And you have some flexibility, a little bit of depth with Spears, something what happened to Derrick Henry, and then Charbonnet. So I think you're in a pretty good spot. I don't necessarily love the quarterbacks, mainly because Trevor Lawrence hasn't been great, but he has started to turn a corner a little bit and has started to look better recently over the last 2 games. He's been QB1 and QB6 over the last 2 games, so hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Now I'll say with Trevor Lawrence, the schedule is not great after this week against Cincinnati. Then you get at Cleveland, which isn't a great matchup defensively, and then you get Baltimore, which is also not a good matchup. I mean, you have to get to Week 16, where you have Tampa Bay, which is a great matchup, and then Carolina there after that. So rest of season, he's not necessarily a great spot. He's got a couple spots there where you feel good about playing, but the other ones I don't feel great with a couple of those that are in there. And then what was the other one? Sam Howell, his other quarterback. His season, rest of season. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, they're on bye week 14, which at least there's only 2 teams on bye next week. But Miami's a great matchup. Then off their bye, they get the Rams, which is a decent matchup. But then they get the Jets and the 49ers. So, like that's not great either. So he said his deadline hasn't passed. So,
Right.
like, if you could flip, honestly, like take like one of your quarterbacks you have here, like Trevor Lawrence, especially after the last 2 games he's had, which could be really smart. I would try to flip him. Like, I don't love this. Neither one of these guys have great schedules. Like, especially in the fantasy playoffs, once you get into there, and like obviously that's what we're playing for. And so if your deadline hasn't passed, that might be what you look to do. Like, I don't think you need anything drastic with the rest of your positions that you have. I think you're fine there. But if you could take a Trevor Lawrence and even maybe a Jamar Chase, considering where you stand, and see what you could get for him, like in terms of the quarterback, like you don't need to go and get Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. Like that's not the quarterback you need to try to go get. Um, Let me look real quick at rest of season. What's kind of changed a little bit for quarterbacks because I think that would be the spot that I want to do because like right now, like if you're in a spot where you can make moves still and you can still trade, knowing where we sit with things, like this is the time to be really trying to flip guys to set yourself up for the fantasy playoffs because there's nothing worse than all of a sudden you get you know uh screwed over um because of the schedule that you may have. Let me see.
While you're looking at that, Adam did drop in the chat. Do you think T Law and Chase for Lamar? I was looking at Lamar earlier. Like, if you could do that, I would definitely do it. That just becomes a case of does the team you're trading with want to do that?
So rest of season, at least fantasy playoff wise, teams with the easiest remaining schedule. Oh my god, the top 3 are so gross. um it's the Giants, the Panthers, and the Titans are the top 3. But past that, you have Dallas with that's going to be tough to pull off. Man, there's not really any like obvious. Like maybe Kyler Murray could be an
I
option
was
this
I
year
was just gonna say Kyler.
where it's not going to cost you as much. It's not like it's going to be a situation where like you're going to have to pay a ton to get him because he's been good since he's been back 23 and 20, actually 18, 23 and 20 in his 3 games that he's been back. He also runs the football, which is going to help him. Their schedule is week 15 isn't great against the 49ers, but then they finish up against Chicago, which is a good matchup, and then the Philadelphia Eagles, which is also a really good matchup because their
Yeah.
secondary has been really bad this year. So like that's something where you could maybe play some matchups there between there.
You
So
might even
Kyler
be able to
Murray,
do that. Ouch. You might even be able to do that straight up, like without having to add anything. With the game that Trevor Lawrence just came off of, you might be able to do that straight up.
I think even just his last 2 games. I mean he scored almost 60 fantasy points his last 2 games. So yeah, you might definitely be able to look at something like that. But there's somebody else I wanted to look at. Like if you want to get a little bit cheaper, Russell Wilson. So they get Houston this week, and then they get the Chargers, which we know is a good matchup. Their secondary has been really bad. And then they get Detroit, which is also a really good matchup because of game script. You know they're going to have to push the pace. They're going to have to throw the ball. After that, they get the Patriots, which isn't great. It's not bad. And then they get the Chargers again in Week 17. Like you couldn't ask for a better setup. That is one of the best rest of season schedule, especially fantasy playoff schedules. Rest of season, they're actually 7th in rest of season easiest remaining schedule. And like I said, I'll pretty much just throw out the Giants, Panthers, and Titans because I wouldn't want any of those quarterbacks. So of the realistic ones, you have Dallas, then New Orleans, Minnesota, Cleveland, which I don't want any part of, and then Seattle don't want any part of that. So Denver would be the next one up from there, and then San Francisco, Brock Purdy, Arizona, Kansas City, which you don't really have to look at that. So I think that could be something you look at, like maybe even a Russell Wilson, which isn't going to cost you a ton either.
Lucius coming through with the super chat. Appreciate you, Lucius. Always coming through. 1 wide receiver, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. Chase, Debo, Henry, Swift, Pacheco. So it's going to be Debo, Pacheco. Who do the Titans have? Colts?
Yeah.
What was that last week?
Colts.
And then I'll go Henry.
I'm going to go Pacheco, Henry, Chase, and then flex Debo.
Oh, I was bringing that as RB2, not 2 RBs. Yeah, Debo and the 3 running backs. Yeah. I don't know what this free for all is 100% down if we eventually start telling drink stories again. So basically, what it was is we get on the stream how we normally would, and then we put like the actual link to join the stream in the chat, and then people just join. You come on, we bullshit, talk about whatever, answer fantasy questions. I know we definitely got away from some of the fantasy stuff the last time as well. So kind of just something different, different idea we had, something you normally don't see with with the fantasy shows, and definitely it was fun. Nice putting faces to some of these names. So I'm sure there will definitely be some stories to come up again, but gonna have to be careful. I'm gonna have to tread lightly because I can get in a black hole and then just not get put in. The entire thing will just be me telling stories. I can easily get carried away with that. I got a lot. Kevin, you need to pull up those kicker rankings again, buddy. Gorilla Kid needs the points. The Detroit kicker bent him over on Thanksgiving with the goose egg. Gorilla Kid, I'll be honest. I'm not going to be the kicker guy here. I tend to just pick up one, not pay attention to it outside of the bye week. And then from that point, I normally will try and just go with whoever I pick up at the bye week, assuming they're not just completely crushing me each and every week.
Yeah, the best thing you can always say is look. What I always say is look at NFL implied team totals for the week and find the kicker who has the best implied team total for that game for that week, and go with that. Like that's really the best thing you could look for. Obviously, we want kickers on teams that are going to score points, but it's hard for me to say like who you should add. Like, believe me, I don't have a list of like streaming options for kickers. I can tell you where I have my rankings set up. The top 12 is Bucker, McManus, Brandon Aubrey, Jake Elliott, Matt Gay, Jason Sanders, Riley Patterson, Jake Moody, Cameron Dicker, Blake Group A, Chris Boswell, and Will Lutz are the top 12. And then past that, we have McLaughlin, and then Young Wei Koo, Dustin Hopkins are the top 15.
So I just pulled up uh, ESPN's fantasy site, and it seems like Koo is the first name I heard you mention that is more widely available. I just counted down from the top 12 because there are only one, two, three, four, five, six. There are only seven, I guess, yeah, seven kickers that have above 60% ownership in ESPN league. So it seems like who is the like would potentially be the most available one. Coulter, what's the panic meter for Kenneth Walker rest of season? Will he be at least RB2 when he comes back? Kev, I know you've talked a ton about this. The Seahawks do not have a favorable rest of season schedule when it comes to running back whatsoever. So if he's going to be an RB2, you're likely, he's going to be what he is, right? Like if he has his explosive run, which he can obviously rattle off at any given point, it's kind of like, a Saquon Barkley type of running back in that regard, but without the floor, in my opinion. He can get you an RB2 week, but I don't think he's going to be someone that like going forward that Kevin and I will just be blindly ranking as like a top like 15 back rest of season on a week to week basis. The ties are there, and it seems like the Panthers GM is a big enough jackass to do it. So who knows?
God. Oh
Lord. The ties are there. Pittsburgh guy.
He is one. He is that owner is so bad. Like no, I don't necessarily know if Frank Reich's like a great head coach or anything like that, but like a lot of the reports were that it was Tepper who really wanted Bryce Young, and they wanted the coaching staff, and everybody else wanted CJ Stroud, and the owner stepped in and said, "No, we're taking Bryce Young," which clearly we know how dumb that was. I thought it was dumb beforehand, but no, obviously don't care what I think. But I never was a fan of Bryce Young. I didn't see it with him, and so far we haven't seen it. Now it also is, to be fair, it's only through 12 weeks of the season. Shouldn't just completely write him off from here, but usually you see some sort of glimpse of like, okay, this is who this guy could be if he gets unlocked. We've seen absolutely nothing from Bryce Young to imply that he can be anything. I know it's not the best offensive situation, but I don't know. And so, like, this is going to look like one of those, like, when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky over Pat Mahomes kind of things. This is what this is looking like.
God, I always forget that was actually a thing that happened, and how the Niners finessed the Bears into thinking that they were actually going to take Trubisky, so they traded up. Was it one spot or two spots? I know it was a small move, but they got the Bears to trade up with them to do so.
To be fair, though, they did the same thing. They got their karma when it came back to them when they drafted. I can't think of his name. Trey
Trey
Lance.
Lance.
Yeah.
Cam, hold on to Cleveland defense. Who do you like more this week? I think without knowing what options you have available to you, Cameron. I think the Cleveland defense is a fine play this week. We've seen Matt Stafford get his in terms of giving away some points to opposing defenses. So I think Cleveland's fine. Hoosier ETN trade just went through. Now I need help with one running back and one flex. Connor Singletary, Hop, Demario Dearest, and Wilson Jr.
So it's gonna be Connor. And I'll go DeAndre Hopkins.
I want to go Singletary and D-Hop. But Connor is close for me. I just think there's a better chance of the Steelers blowing them out. We kind of saw what happened with Connor last week. When that happened, we saw Michael Carter just come in for the entirety of basically the fourth quarter. So I think there's a better chance that Connor gets game scripted out versus Singletary. Fu, rocking with us. Downs, Rice, Connor, sit one. I'm going to sit Connor.
Agreed.
Fergie Ferg or McBride.
This is McBride.
Would you drop Khalil to pick up a tight end?
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to, no. I mean, I think there's also the scenario, which seems crazy. Just don't pick up a tight end. Take a 0. I mean, let's be realistic. How many points are we talking a tight end could pick up? On average, we're talking 5 or 6 PPR points, right?
Yeah.
I know. I think he said it was 7 and 5, so it's kind of a risky spot to do that. But I don't know.
If this is the team with if this is the same one where we were talking about Charbonnet, Chuba earlier. In that case, I think I would drop Chuba to pick up the tight end. I think Khalil is going to be more valuable going forward. I think there's potentially the chance of being able to pick up Chuba after the bye week. I don't think Chuba's going to go out and crush. I mean, not after the bye week, but just after this week. I don't think he's going to go out and crush this week to where you're not going to be able to potentially pick him up.
He's 8 and 4, top team, and 5 teams are 7 and 5. That's wild.
Wow. Tommy Cutlets in the G-Men. Yeah, I will say that the celebration is awesome.
I mean, it's been cool. I mean, I guess since the way they started, he looked like the worst quarterback we've ever seen. And then, he's kind of I don't know, he's got to turn it around a little bit the last couple weeks. Now people are talking he should be the starting quarterback next year, which is ridiculous. That shouldn't be a thing. But yeah, I mean, it's been kind of cool seeing him kind of turn it around a little bit,
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing that he just went right out and told everybody that he's still living at home and his mom still, takes care of everything for him at the house. I mean, hey, you do you, bro. Do you?
It's like the 8 Mile scene, right? Where you just come out and you tell everyone what you all your faults and everything they could potentially make fun of you for. Then it's just well, fuck, what do we say about him now? I mean, just get it all out there. So yeah, I do live at home. My mom folds my laundry, makes all my meals. It's like, oh shit. Now what do we say? Can't make fun of him for it. Dude loves it. Hurts or CJ for Fu?
This hurts.
Eric, if AJB was available for trade, would you trade two of any of the following? Nico, Warren, Charbonnet, Dell, Cook. One of the teams in my league has half his team on bye. He has no depth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you could, I mean, I can't imagine, Cook and Charbonnet get it done. You're probably gonna have to part with one of the Texans receivers. So I mean, I would still do it. Like if you could finagle. This is a situation like I've done this before in my dynasty league where like I don't like I think I'd rather have Dell over Nico, but like it's not like for me personally, that's not one that like I feel like super strongly about. So I would send the trade of Nico and Charbonnet and Dell for Charbonnet and just like let the other person pick. And I would try and do that. Like I think that's probably your best bet. I mean, I would even throw in Brandon Cooks, like if I had to. Yeah, I mean, so like if you have to add him in as well, I would do it. So I would do, one of the Texans receivers, Cook and Charbonnet, and take the swing for sure.
absolutely. Yep.
Who you guys got winning this week? San Fran, Philly. Got San Fran.
Yeah, I think Philly is what they're 10-1. I mean, I think eventually they're gonna take another loss. You also probably have some where you got San Francisco, especially the way they got knocked out of the playoffs last year, with Purdy getting hurt, like a little redemption, like they're gonna be a little more fired up and want this game a little bit more. So yeah, I think San Francisco wins.
Deontay or Watson? I'm going to go Deontay on that one.
Yeah.
And I think that is it. You could just, Ashton, you could have just put dynasty leagues. You didn't even need the without a trade. You could have just done dynasty leagues.
What outside of like preventing teams like from like making crazy trades, like with like taking teams to at the bottom to like the first place teams. Why is there a trade deadline in dynasty leagues?
I mean, yeah, that's really it. Just so that like if there's a first place team that they don't go out and or whatever it is. Like if there's a team that's in like the championship that they don't go out and make a trade to like put their team out. Like that's really it. It's just to try and prevent that from to prevent that from happening like that. Like that's really the only argument.
'Cause it
But
feels, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like at the same time, the way that you get around that is just like if it's not collusion, it doesn't matter. Like to me, like I do have a league where if once you've been knocked out, like playoff teams can trade with other playoff teams, and I think like non-playoff teams can trade with like non-playoff teams. Like you can't cross streams. You can't go to the other group, which to me is just so dumb. Like unless it's just true collusion, like you should not be punishing. Like say there's like a team out of it right now with like Zach Moss and it's like they're not a good team. Like, what the hell good does Zach Moss do to a team that's rebuilding? You know what I mean? Like they should not be like punished for that. Whenever like you can make a fair deal and there's a contending team out there that could go and get, go and get Moss. But I will say, if in Dynasty there should absolutely not be. If you're gonna have a trade deadline, it is 100% not until like the all of mine that have trade deadlines are like the Thursday before the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs start. Like you take it out as long as you can and then you cut it. But
I just feel like I guess the thought would be like though, because like you feel like if you are a team that's out of it and not going to go anywhere, and like you did have somebody like Zach Moss or something like that, where you could actually, mine some value out of work. Because like after 3 weeks, like after the season's over, he has no value again. Like he's back to being
Yeah.
where right now you could actually maybe, get somebody who, is desperate and, trying to win, whatever, and they give up a, I don't know, a second round rookie pick or something, like something crazy or whatever for something like that, where you can actually get some really solid value out of it. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me that it's at a dynasty league. And now I'm not a dynasty guy, so me to say that is probably, but like you should be able to trade whenever. Like that's the whole point of dynasty. Like there shouldn't be a trade deadline, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, what I will say, I am really looking forward to prospect season. I'm excited about it.
You are a closet dynasty guy. I don't know why you won't admit it. You 100%, like, if there's anything I've learned about you, Kev, is like at first you were just like super anti dynasty, but like especially over this last season, it's coming out. Like you're like, I don't know why you put on this front, but like, all the, oh, Keenan Allen's old. I don't want anything to do with them. All these guys are old. And now talking about you're excited for prospect season. You are definitely in like, the safe leagues or FFPC like dynasty leagues. And your name isn't on them like somehow, but like
I
you're
think it's not that I don't like Dynasty. It's more so the fact that I don't like it's always bothered me like the people that play Dynasty, they are very like snotty, like, oh, I play in Dynasty leagues. I'm so much better. Oh my god, redraft. Like you got you slums, like you bums playing
there is that subset for sure.
and like that's what I can't stand. I'm like, it's stupid. Like that's why I've always dogged Dynasty. Not that I like hate the actual format. If I could actually get a league, it'd have to be for money because I cannot play in a league for free. I don't pay attention to it. I don't. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't really care about it. Like even I know I shouldn't say this, but like our listener league, I don't care. Like I don't pay attention because if it ain't for something, I need something to get me invested in it. And money is also a good way to do that. So like if I can find like a quality, it doesn't have to be like a $100, $200, $300 buy-in. It could just, even a simple $50 buy-in league. Like I would be way more invested. Now, you're probably right. I probably would thoroughly enjoy it. But I just really haven't. Nobody, since I pretty much play in like home leagues, stuff like that around here, and then do obviously a ton of DFS. It really just I don't really have anybody that like is hardcore to Dynasty. So that's why I've never got into one. I wouldn't mind doing it if we could find people to do it.
Sounds like a listener league should be in the cards this year.
But I could do a startup draft, whatever. I could get in my first real, dynasty league. Put a little money in, and we could start like a what is it? A safe league? Is that what you? I don't know if that's how you do it through dynasty, but do like a safe league. So like, there's no like shenanigans going on. That's the other thing I wouldn't want any part of is handling money. But yeah, if we did like a safe league or something, we could do that. Little dynasty, little TFA dynasty league.
Yeah. We'll get started this off season. Anyway, Isaac's saying that Goddard's still available. I was just trying to look while Kev was going on his tangent about how he hates Dynasty. I haven't he did not practice today. It seems like his status is still up in the air. I like at this point, I really don't know.
They have no reason to run him back. I mean, they are what 10-1. There is zero reason for them to do anything that's going to compromise him. I do not think that he'll be back this week. I would maybe next week. You kind of get him out there a little bit, have him run around a little bit, but you don't bring him back for this week.
League safe league. I always mix it up too. But I think there is one. It's safe leagues, right? That's another one. I also
don't know.
think that's a thing.
But I'd be down. I mean, I'd be down to do it. Something like that. Maybe you start it after the season. When do you start doing Superflex, or when do you start doing startup drafts?
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I mean, startup, like we could do a startup right now. We could start the startup right now. there are some people that'll do like a startup like super early, so say like February, and then hold the rookie draft after like the NFL draft happens, or you could just do everything after the rookie draft. You could do everything before. Like it really doesn't matter. Like you can. That's the best part is you can kind of you can do whatever.
I guess that does make sense because I guess you usually include rookies if you do it after the draft and all that stuff. You include in your startup, you include the rookies for that year in the startup. Is that how it usually works?
Usually, yeah, but like there are some leagues out there that will have just like a startup draft without the rookies, and then you can do like let's say however you end up figuring out the draft order. Say you had the 101, then you automatically get like the 12 spot for the rookie draft, and then whenever you have the rookie draft, it goes in inverse order. So it really would just depend on however we want to do it.
Maybe that's right. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll put it out in the chat and see how many people in the Discord. So if you're not in Discord, another perk is we do listener leagues, and so maybe we could do something like that. That'd be fun. And like I said, use League Safe, and so it's easier there. It's a secure way to do that. We could set that up. That'd be fun.
Mr. Bakes a lot coming in. Hoosier, appreciate you rocking with us after Super Bowl before rookie draft. Yeah, so like I said, that's another way to do it. Basically, do the startup, the bulk of the startup after the Super Bowl, and then after the NFL draft. Oh yeah, that's also what you can do is you can like draft your rookie picks as well. So like if like you have someone like you might not really give a shit about the rookie picks, you can like actually have like them as like draftable assets. So like at like the 201, you know what I mean? You on your like your 1-2 turn, you take I don't know whoever, fucking Garrett Wilson, and then you take the 101 rookie pick. And then when you have the rookie draft after like whatever picks that you draft, that's what you have. So if you have someone that just wants to, go all in and they're taking rookie picks every pick after, you know what I mean, like say round 3 or something like that. I forgot about that. That's another way you can do it where you're actually like drafting your rookie picks during the startup. I haven't done one like that. I don't think. Maybe I have. I don't think. But that'd be an interesting twist. Bakeslot did have a question. Sit one, Charbs, B Rob, or Singletary.
Sit Brian Robinson.
Ooh.
It's
Agree.
not a good matchup. Miami's been better against the run, and he has been completely game script dependent. At least that's what that happened to him last week, where we saw Antonio Gibson handle the pass catching work. It feels like a game they're going to be falling behind, and that where it really favors Antonio Gibson a lot more. So that would be my only concern with Brian Robinson. If Antonio Gibson was out, it would be 100% Brian Robinson because he would see the majority of the touches. But in this situation, I think you probably just sit Brian Robinson, and just because of the matchup and the way this game script is likely going to play. So that being said, I think that's the last question of the night. So almost a 2.5 hour stream. Appreciate everybody rocking with us, coming in. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate everybody being here. It is a lot of fun. And so we will be back again. Well, we'll be back tomorrow night to do the DFS show with me and Maddie, breaking down the DFS slate for this week. And then we'll be back again on Sunday morning to do this all over again and answer all your questions before lock, where we have all, the questions or the answers to the test where we'll know who's playing, who's in, who's out by that point. So it makes it a little bit easier to have a good understanding. So do appreciate everybody being here. 808. Appreciate you, Ashton. Jalen Phillips did just go on IR. He was a big factor on the defensive line. I figured Charbonnet might be worse. So the only thing though I would say there is with Charbonnet is we know his workload is going to be massive. I mean, Kenneth Walker is definitely going to be out,
Yeah.
and so yes, it's not a great matchup, but volume sometimes trumps matchup, and so considering he's going to see 80+% of the opportunities from this backfield, if not more, it's really hard to sit Charbonnet in that situation. So, to me, when it comes to Antonio Gibson or when it comes to Brian Robinson, like I said, if they fall behind, Antonio Gibson is going to be the guy who's going to see far more of the touches. So, and I would be surprised if that's not what happened. So, anyways, all right, we will see you again here soon. Like I said, if you want to come back, listen tomorrow night for the DFS show. If you, I say it once, I'll say it again. Even if you don't play DFS at all, it is a good way to really figure out matchups and everything that's going on this week in terms of DFS for that week, because nobody goes deeper than DFS shows on matchups and stuff like that, to just get an understanding of maybe you should play. Also, really dive deep into some more of the value plays who end up being like really strong streamers or waiver ad stat for that week to play. So that also helps as well. So if you want to come join us for that, you can. If not, we'll be back in Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time or 11 a.m. Eastern to answer all of your questions to get you ready for week 13. Let's get some W's this week, boys and girls. See you on the next one. Bye bye.